Ever since the dawn of humankind, we've sought the origins of our life and its purpose. Some have chosen to look to science, religion, or philosophy for answers. Many have turned to the great masters such as Lao Tzu, the Buddha, and Jesus Christ for spiritual illumination. Still others have sought truth through their own direct experience. All of us are searching, knowingly or unknowingly, for enlightenment, truth, and harmony in our lives. This program, hosted by Dr. Gregory Penn, will help you aspire to a more fulfilling and rewarding life.
Every day we take a step, we understand. The closer that we get, we'll find in who we are. We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness or the light. We'll find in who we are. There's so many roads.
Welcome to our Christmas program here on Aspire. We're so grateful you chose to be with us. We're going to take a very untraditional point of view about Christmas. We're going to be looking at it from the idea Christ missed. Because so much of Christmas is missed. The Christ, the real spiritual experience of it. Then in the second half of Aspire, we'll do some question and answers that you've written in about Christmas and that second birth, which is so deeply important. So if you're ready to take an untraditional approach to a very beautiful experience, that of finding the Christ in Christmas, come and spend a half hour with us as we seek the second birth within us all. Come Aspire. Christmas presents us with some beautiful opportunities if we will look at it. Most people do not understand Christmas. In fact, this Sunday morning here at the center, I'm going to be speaking on very much the same subject I'm speaking to you on this morning. Christ missed. We have two forms of Christmas. The Christmas that we celebrate as a form of a Mass. Christ Mass means everyone celebrating the Christ that was in Jesus in a Mass form. But when we do that, we create a Christ missed also. And a lot of our life is spent in missing the Christ in ourselves. We've attributed Christmas to a holiday, a religious observance. A religious experience, it is not for us. A religious observance, it is. We look at it in this culture and it becomes a historical fact, an economical fact, a traditional fact. It is not something that is real to us. And we go through it year after year after year after year. And very rarely do we ever question, what is this Christmas experience? We think about it as happy birthday, Jesus. Looking at it and looking at the life of Jesus, do you really think that this is what he would want? Don't you think we've made a mockery of a lot of it? We have made it a historical fact, a religious thing, a ceremonial thing, not a spiritual experience. Jesus was interested in the spiritual experiences of our life, not the emotional, not the celebrations of the physical. They're not bad. Please don't misunderstand me. To celebrate anything is wonderful, but only after the accomplishment. We have tended to take Christmas and make a mockery of it, as we often do with everything. We don't keep it sacred. Christmas really is a very beautiful experience. It's an experience that moves in and through us. But we are more interested, it seems, in this Western culture of ours in the idea of it being the birthday of the man Jesus, a physical celebration, and how much we miss from that point of view. Christ is missed. Jesus is involved, the religion is involved, the ceremony's involved, but where's the spiritual experience? Where does it go beyond the traditional form to something that touches us deep inside? Something that leaves its mark in us, so to speak, so profoundly that we are never the same again. Many of us look at it as a time of giving presents to people that we love. The one time during the year that we give a charitable gift. The time that we meet our families. We've turned it into a social thing. But I still say to you, Christmas is something very unique, a very mystical experience. In Jesus' discussion with Nicodemus, which was truly one of the most important turning points in the life of all of us, Nicodemus asked Jesus, We know that you are a great master because no one could do the works that you do unless they were sent from God. Jesus knows what he's about to ask, and he interrupts him, and he said, unless you be born again, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. That second birth is what Christmas is all about. We all have the first birth. Many people feel that Jesus was born of an immaculate conception, and that's what they are celebrating at this time. Well, my view is about that is not so. There is no physical immaculate conception. It's as though that if Jesus' body were made by a man and a woman through the normal act of nature, that something would be bad about that, or wrong, or dirty. And that shows us how much we've missed. Jesus' biological side was like anybody else's, born and derived out of two parents that loved each other and created a child. That was his body. The Immaculate Conception, though, is something deeper than just sex. The true Immaculate Conception is the one that happened in the heart of Jesus and in the heart of you. When it was, we'll never know. Some people think it was before the temple experience where he was talking to the scribes and the Pharisees. Other people think it was after. Some people think it was at the beginning. It doesn't really matter. The Immaculate Conception is that second part where we are born not of the physical body anymore, but where we are born to the Spirit of life, the Spirit of ourselves. It's a very delicate and subtle birth that happens in us. It happens from our heart, not our biology. And it is an immaculate conception. It does not come from anything that you and I would ever know. It comes when we allow God to come into us, when we actually let God into our life, when we let God touch our spirit. All of a sudden, from out of nowhere, there is a moment of great life, of profound silence. That is the Christmas experience. And it has nothing to do with what happened 2,000 years ago in the form of the birth of the man Jesus, but it has to do with the birth of our heart. A moment where we come out of our human self, where we come out of our pride, out of our ego, out of our fears, out of our worries, to touch something very beautiful inside, the way of the spiritual path in us. This Christmas, it can be yours. I want to offer you some Christmas gifts, some how-tos. These are gifts of the heart. They will touch you deeply if you allow them to. If you ignore them, it will be just another year of Christ missed. But if you practice these ideas, this year, the Christ experience could be your own. First of all, one must acknowledge. One must not only acknowledge, one must understand. Without reservation or doubt, and it can't be understood through the mind, it must be perceived through the heart, that the Christ lives within you. We have a hard time with this word Christ. It's a hard one. We use it in vain when we are swearing, and we use it as a religious term. It's really hard to nail down. Whenever you talk about the Christ nature within anybody, it becomes an intellectual idea that we put over here, a potential maybe in another lifetime. To a more traditional person, to say that the Christ lives in us is a high form of blasphemy. But none of that is true. Let me just put it to you this way. There's another word for the word Christ. It is you, your higher nature, the unconditional love of you. You must understand that lives within you. That is what every effort towards our life is made for, to make the effort towards the unconditional in us. It is the light of our life. You know, Jesus was a very unique master, very unique. He lived in times like we do, where it was chaotic. There was a lot of politics going on, a lot of pain and suffering in the illnesses of the world, a lot of shifting and turning, a lot of oppression. And in all of that, Jesus appeared to be extremely rebellious, and that's the second concept. You're going to have the courage, the deep courage to go beyond yourself, like you have never gone beyond yourself in the past. This means you're going to have to go beyond your education, go beyond your feelings, go beyond your past, to accept who and what you are, not as a philosophical concept, not as a religious concept, but as a deeply spiritual concept, a deeply spiritual reality, a reality that in your heart exists everything that you've always been and everything you've always wanted to be. With that conception in you, allowing God to touch you, allowing God to move you, allowing God's presence to illuminate you, we have the opportunity for great spiritual awakening. The awakening happens as we learn to understand it's not what we have, it's who we are that is so important. It's not where we are, it's the awareness of who we are that is the most important. And that we were not put here to suffer. We are here to express the nature of ourselves as the Christ. All of our life, everything that we've wanted in our living, is based on the whole concept of our own spirituality. Many of you, I'm sure, have Christmas trees, and under those trees are many gifts. And while they will satisfy one side of our nature, and we should enjoy the gifts and the presents and the food, the family and the friends, the one thing that we must always understand is the most important gift is not under the tree this year, my dear friend. The most important gift is in you. And only you are the one that can accept the gift. It is the gift of life, the gift of love, the gift of compassion and understanding. This year, let this be a real Christmas experience for you, where the conception of God in you can finally happen, the merging of you with God can finally occur. That is the greatest experience we will ever know in Christmas. And beyond words and theories and concepts, it is the Christ in you that has always been. I hope this Christmas is not just a merry Christmas for you, but a significant one, maybe a turning point in your life, where you go beyond yourself, beyond the history of Christmas, beyond the fact of Christmas, where Jesus is not a historical fact, but an opportunity of the Christ in you. Namaste. We've gone back to the mail room, so to speak, and picked out some of your letters that you have written to us. And again, I want to reiterate how much we enjoy receiving the mail and many of the questions that you have. We're going to choose, I've chosen 4 here for this program. I hope that they might be questions that you at home would be asking. Our first one comes from San Diego. On your program, I've heard you talk about Buddha and Jesus and the Tao. Do you consider the Christ as important as Buddha or the Tao? I'm not always sure where you're coming from. I'm not coming from really anywhere, so don't look for me there. If you think I'm a Buddhist, you're wrong. If you think I'm just a Christian, you're wrong. If you think I'm a Taoist, you're wrong. I'm not coming from any particular religion or from any particular slant, except that I am interested and I find great truth in everybody's teachings. It doesn't matter who they are. The word Buddha and Jesus mean exactly the same thing. Many people think of Buddha as this fat little thing that sits in your garden. That's not it at all. It is an accomplishment. Buddha is the same thing as Christ. It means the enlightened one, the one who has attained. The Christ means the same thing, one who has attained self, God. So when a Buddhist says, I've achieved Buddha nature, what they're saying is, I've achieved Christ nature. You have to understand, it is very important for us to get beyond our prejudices. We in the West only look at things from one point of view, our point of view, the point of view that is of the populace, that is important to most people. That doesn't necessarily make it true. I'm interested in truth wherever it comes from. I love Buddha's teachings. They are magnificent. They are compassionate. They are loving. I love Jesus' teachings. They are rebellious. At times they're dramatic. They're deeply significant. The Tao. I love the Tao because it is natural. It teaches us the natural way of ourselves. All teachings have their spiritual merit. You know, it's a bright, beautiful, big, and broad world that you and I live in. It should not be narrowed down to the limitation of one religion, one idea, one person. Every great master came into the world to offer to us some beautiful things. I think it would be silly for us to only eat off one tree when there are so many other trees that we can be nourished from. So I have great love and respect for the Christ. I have equal love and respect for the Buddha. I have equal love and respect for the Tao, or anyone who has taken the time to help me understand the nature of myself. And all of these people, and there have been many more, are doing the same thing. We need to open up more and be brighter and more accepting. Let's look at the second question. Again, this one comes from San Diego. I can see through Christmas that it's a religious and financial institution in our life. How does one make it more spiritual? Is it possible, this writer writes, and is it important? Well, yes, Christmas is nothing but a big financial blah. We have made it that way, and we know it, and we don't try to change it. We've made it into an institution where we shop at department stores, and the sum and the meaning of Christmas to us is how many presents do we have that fit, how many people can we have over, and how much can we eat. For us, it is nothing more than an excuse to party and to have celebration. Oh, we go to church and light our candle and do our little bit, but that's not the important part to us. The important part to us is the family, the presents, the food, the social part of it. Well, I don't have a problem with that. I think you can have your cake and eat it too. I don't think that's a bad thing, but we have to understand that Christmas is really more. Christmas is an opportunity. A deep opportunity for us to make a spiritual transformation. A transformation from the ignorant part of us to the divine. From the misunderstood to the understood. Christmas should be every day of the year. And the way I treat it within myself is I look at this day as a day of renewal, of rededication to my spiritual values, to the spiritual things that I have seen, to my meditation, to my deep awareness and my understanding. I don't seek to make it just food, family, and friends, although we all enjoy that. It has to be something significant. There is no magic to the day of Christmas, December the 25th, and as many of you know, many historians have told us that Jesus was not even born on the 25th of December. Jesus is not the example here, but the Christ is born in your heart. And it happens when you want to take your life deeper. The best way I can describe Christmas to you is when you have achieved the great futility of yourself, when you've had enough suffering and enough pain in your life, when you begin to realize that there's something more to your life than just the things that you see around you and the concepts that you were raised with, when truth becomes very important to you, that is when Christmas will dawn in your heart. Yes, it is possible to have a significant Christmas, even in the economic chaos that we are in, with all of the indulgences that we have. And it's possible to have Christmas in our hearts. It is very necessary. If I were to offer to you a gift this year, it would be that Christmas would be discovered within you and then enjoyed also with your family and your friends. You can have both, to live in the world, but not of it. Our next question again comes from San Diego. Consistently in your programs and in your teachings, you state that we must move from our head to our heart. Why? I don't understand. When we look at life from our head, that is our intellect and our feeling nature, when we look at life purely from there, we create an egotism, an attachment, an arrogance, an anger to life and to ourselves. We think too much. We rationalize too much. We think and rationalize so much that we miss the meaning and the significance of the moment that we are in. Why do I urge the journey from the head to the heart? The heart is not emotions, by the way. The heart is the threshold to God and to life. The reason I urge it is that that is the threshold to the nature of the Christ in you, to God in you. Jesus said, and he told us repeatedly, that the only way we would ever find God is to go to our hearts. He said that our hearts were wax gross, that our eyes were dull of seeing, and our ears they could not hear. And he was right. We have created a barrier around our heart so we would not be receptive. Believe me, the meaning and the significance of your life is not in the things that you own or the people around you or the things that you do. Those are intellectual things. Those are all things that can be given and taken away from you. But the real significance of life is found in your heart. And the things that you find in your heart, no one can ever take away from you. No depression, no inflation, no war, not even death. As Jesus said, you will take them unto life eternal. It is very important that you learn to listen to life from your heart. never from your head. If we listen to life from our intellect, from our reason, from our thoughts, we'll only get a very small part of the picture. There is a big picture to life, my dear friend, and the reason most of us don't see it is because we're too busy looking at life from our senses, from our mind and our brain, rather than from our heart and our being. So that's why it is so important. In every teaching that I try to offer to you, I offer you the alternative of your heart, to move to your heart. Okay? Our last question. We have enough time for this one. This one comes from El Cajon. What do you mean by spiritual transformation? I've heard you talk about it several times on your program. Well, there are some people who like to inform us. There are some people who want to change us. And people who inform are often trying to change us. They think that they can tell us a fact or a figure. For instance, I am told that we can blow up our world 700 times over again. That's a lot. That certainly does not curtail war, does it? We still have war and bombs. We can inform people and inform people and inform people, and it doesn't change anything. But transformation is something different. Transformation is when you want to make some necessary changes in your life. And even in that, you're not doing it. It happens through you and for you. I urge you to meditate. I urge you to spend time sitting in the silence of your being. I urge you to create a sense of emptiness and space within you, where you begin to see things as they are and not try to manipulate things as you'd like them to be. Spiritual transformation does not happen because you go to a certain church or read a certain book. It happens when you finally surrender to God, when you give in, when you finally surrender to the nature of your heart, surrender to yourself, and let this Christmas experience be a meaningful one. I hope that this Christmas is more than a merry one for you. I hope it's an opportunity for your transformation. Namaste. Christmas can be lost in so many ways. That's why I entitled this Christ Miss, because we have missed the Christ. We have spent more time worrying about Jesus as a historical fact, as a religious fact, instead of seeing that the teachings that he offered were transforming to bring us closer and closer to God within us, the Christ in us. If we are to take Christmas very seriously, we take it as a vow that we make. A vow that we make to ourselves, that for the rest of our life, starting from this day on, we will seek to work from the Christ experience within us. Not from religion, not from ideals, not from philosophy, but from the Christ experience within us.
Downs, the darkness